Hey everyone, this is Chris from Space Cabin Audio. Let me give you a detailed overview of the mixer. Let's start at the top of the channel strip here. You'll notice we have input and something here that says instrument. When we click here, we actually get the instrument slide out. Now, right here we see the beater for the kick because we just have one articulation. But if we actually come over to the hi-hat here, and I click instrument, we'll see we have a lot of different articulations. This gives us the ability to change the volume of any articulation that's available. So for instance here I've set up a closed hi-hat pass to an open hi-hat pass, and we'll notice that the open hi-hat pass is just a little bit too loud compared to the closed hi-hat. So let's take a listen. Okay, so that's just a little bit too loud. Now that's a 3/4 shank articulation. So I'm just going to turn that down by 3 decibels. And let's see how this plays back now. That is quite a bit better. At just 3 dB, it really made a difference. Okay, you'll notice also down here that we have ADSR and a Tacticay sustain release, as well as pitch. So for instance, maybe if on the snare I wanted to open this up, I could actually pitch it down if I wanted. Now, right now you'll notice it sounds fairly unnatural, but one thing that I like to do with this sometimes is to layer my snares. One gets detuned and one stays normal, and we'll just blend in the detuned snare. It gives it a little bit more body, a little bit more fatness, and maybe a little bit more of that fun 80s sound. The ADSR section down here actually allows us to change how we listen to the drum. So let's take a listen. This can be useful in sound design, or if you're working with electronic music and you want to change the way a particular instrument is hitting. Maybe you want to have a slower attack. Maybe you want the open hi-hat to last longer or last shorter. Any of those things. You'll notice again that if I double click anything in the interface, it will reset it back to default. Close up the instrument browser. Moving down, you'll notice that we have a trim knob. This allows us to turn up or down the entire kit piece with all of the bleeds at the same time. We have a polarity reversal. Notice that I didn't call it a phase reversal. I called it a polarity reversal. Audio instructors everywhere will get that. Over here, when I click here, we get the instrument browser. Now the instrument browser is actually a really cool section. And as libraries grow for Accent, and as our libraries grow for Accent, you're actually going to find that you're going to be able to search for different kick drums or different snare drums or different hi-hats, cymbals, whatever you want. And you'll also be able to choose from different libraries. So let's say that our next library will be Desert Drums. You'll be able to search through Desert Drums, and you'll be able to mix and match Desert Drums and Galaxy Drums together. Right now you'll notice that I have the Gretsch plastic beater loaded up. Now I want to audition the Dunnett plastic beater, so I'll just double click this. We'll get a little icon here that shows us that, and we can now hear the Dunnett. Damn, that's a good sounding kick drum. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Gretsch plastic beater. I'll close up my instrument browser. And as we move down, we hit the Sends and Bleed area. Now, the Sends and Bleed area is a really cool place because Accent is actually a mixer just like you would find in your DAW. This means that we can use the auxiliary sends to create parallel compression or reverb sends or whatever we want. So when I click here, we'll open this up, and you'll notice right now I have 2 aux tracks selected. I'm going to right click on aux 2, and I'm just going to delete that track for now, and we'll see it automatically update here. Now, when you first open Accent, you will notice that the auxiliary send is mono. You'll see it over here. It's bus 1, and it's muted at unity gain. I always change mine to stereo right off the top. I'll choose bus 1, 2, and we'll see that update to a stereo channel, and we'll also see a panner show up in the aux ends. Next, we go into the bleed section. Now the bleed section is really, really cool because this allows us to change how much of the kick drum ends up in the overheads or ends up in the rooms. Now, if you've ever recorded a real drummer, you know how much this can aggravate you, right? How many times have you wanted to remove bleed out of the overheads? Maybe they're hitting the hi-hat too hard. Maybe they're hitting the hi-hat too hard. Maybe their crash cymbals are too quiet. Maybe they're not hitting their toms hard enough. And you need more of that in the overheads to get a better balance. Well, the bleed section here actually assists us in doing that. So for instance, I'm just going to move over to this tom section here because it will really allow us to hear what's going on in the bleed section. Now, using the keyboard shortcut Alt and clicking bleeds, you'll notice that it opens up every single bleed for every single channel all right away. Now, this is also true for the auxiliary sends. If you hold Alt and click on the aux or bleed section, it will actually expand all of them at once. So you're not constantly clicking on things here and there trying to find out which one you want, or, you know, it's just, this is a real time saver. So I'm going to move over here to the toms. The overheads are now soloed. Let's take a listen. Those toms really make that room sing. It's really good. I'm going to hold Alt or Option, and I'm going to click on the bleed section, and we're going to collapse everything back down. So this is a really good keyboard shortcut from within the plugin interface that allows you to expand or hide all of the aux sends or all of the bleeds all at the same time. Moving on down, we get into my favorite part of this mixer. Now, this to me was the biggest game changer of Accent, and something that once you use it, you're going to wonder why no one else has done this already. This is the insert section. Now, insert 1 is dedicated for internal effects. Now, Accent ships with 7 built-in effects: gain, filter, 4-band EQ, compressors, limiters, gates, and reverbs. So let's say that I wanted to add a little snap to this kick drum. I could simply add this EQ, and I'll set my frequency up to about 5K or so. You'll notice that if I hold Control or Command on the Mac, I actually get fine control over the frequency. And I'm going to give this a little boost here. I'll give it about 3 dB. I should be fairly comfortable with that. I mean, if I was doing metal, I might do more, and I might go even higher in the frequency. I'm going to expand the bandwidth a little bit. Here we go, and let's take a listen. Go to a beat area where we can really hear the kick drum a lot more. Very, very cool. Now let's just say that I also wanted to remove some low frequency. So I could load up a filter section or a filter plugin right below it. And I'll just add it here. And now you'll notice that I can set the filter. So I'm going to bring this filter down to about 40 Hertz. But then I realize, oh no, I actually wanted the filter before the equalizer. In Accent, no problem. I can just click it, drag it all the way to the top. We now have changed the signal flow of how these effects are working together. This is really cool. These effects actually sound really, really good. Let's take a listen. So wicked. This is amazing. Now, let's just say that I'm not digging what I'm finding with these effects, and I want to use my own effects. Things that I know and things that I use on a regular basis. So I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Control on the PC or Command on the Mac, and I'm going to click on the insert one, and you'll notice that there's a little red dot here. This means that all of these effects are now bypassed, and I'm going to choose to go in and I'm going to choose to load up my Slate Virtual Mix Rack. I'm just going to use Revival right now because I love what the shimmer does to the attack of the kick drum. So when I hit play, very, very rad. Next, I want to add a little distortion or a little saturation to it. So I'll go to Plugin Alliance, I'll add my saturator, and I'm going to give it some, there we go, a little drive. Let's see what we got now. Like I said, this is one of the most powerful parts of this plugin, and once you use it, you'll be like, why has no one done this yet? And it's really changed my workflow. Directly underneath the insert section, we run into the instrument pad. So when we click on this, we're actually able to audition the instrument that's loaded and all of its associated bleed at different velocities. This is really useful for when you're auditioning crash cymbals, for instance. You're like, oh, what crash should we use? Oh, geez, I don't know. 3 sounds pretty good. What does 2 sound like? Oh, that's good. Oh, that's awesome. This means that you never have to leave this page if you don't want to. In years past, I would constantly be going to different areas of mixers to try and find, oh, what crash am I looking for? What am I doing? Here it's all laid out for us right in front of our faces, which is really good. Underneath we have solo, mute, we also have pan, fader, and at the very bottom of the channel strip we actually have the ability to send out any of this information to an external track if we want to. So you'll notice that I have 32 mono buses as well as 16 stereo buses. So let me create a stereo aux track here. And I'm just going to assign its input to 3/4 in accent. Now, this is really useful for if you want to send separate drum stems to a mixer if they don't have accent, but if they don't have accent, they probably should because it's awesome. But maybe somebody wants everything separate so they feel a little bit more conventional. So I can click down here on the master and I can just send this out to out 3/4. And as soon as I do that, I'll hit play. And my kick drum is now showing up down here under aux 1, which is very cool. I'm not going to do that though, because ever since I've had plugins in the mixer, I just can't go back to that workflow anymore. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to share and subscribe to this channel, find us on Facebook, and go to spacecabinaudio.com and get your copy of Galaxy Drums today. Let's make some beats.